Today we're looking at the re-release of the Hornby Drax wagon packs.
Casey Jones, steaming and a rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear a tooting of a whistle, it's a Casey and the throttle of the Cannonball Express.
Hi, my name's Andy, this is my channel Modeloco. For all things model railway, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, it won't hurt the bank balance.
Let's open them quickly and get into them and have a look and give them a run round Lofthouse to see how they fare, because they'll go nicely with the Wascusser wagons that I reviewed just last week.
Accessory bag for each, and I'm presuming different running numbers on each individual pair, but this being one and this being the other. I do tend to like the couple here rather than this couple, but they are going to look as impressive on the layout. As I've mentioned with Bachmann coaches as well, these will look nice at the end of a rake if you choose one of these to be so, and then you can take the tension lock coupling out of here and it will look more realistic. But there's some lovely detailing, and also as you run it round you can vary your rake even more by turning these in any way you want or have them all looking the same.
The Drax fleet of 225 rail wagons are a world first by Lloyd's Register, now named Ricardo Rail, which is the UK's last independent freight wagon manufacturer, and it's based in Mansfield. This extended, innovative wagon design, which is the largest to date, enables a maximum capacity of 71.6 tonnes, 30% more than older designs could carry, supplying the coal replacement with these wood pellets, and a rather odd claim that by cutting down living trees that have soaked up carbon from the atmosphere, then when it's released back on burning, that counts as neutral. Even though wood is less efficient and gives off more emissions than coal, coal also soaked up carbon when it grew. And of course, once cut down, these living trees no longer can help support wildlife, soil, or help soak up rainwater. In fact, no longer support life at all until they grow back, that is, as planned, they say, decades later. And I've seen firsthand the decimated landscapes which have been cleared, leaving what looks like a major disaster zone when I headed out on the Ravenglass Railway. A lot of these pellets have been imported here on huge diesel-powered cargo ships, and that then takes another 20 to 40 days to reach the Ingham port on these vessels, and that's where the diesel trains then await them with the usual 52 Drax wagons in tow, because that's where the incentives now lie, and head out towards the Drax power station, which is being subsidised by the UK government taxpayer. Same as railway freight was taxed off the rails and onto the roads back in the late 60s through government policies, etc. We now see the results, and here we go again to create a push to a so-called carbon neutral energy. Heritage steam railways are already being pushed away from coal and are having to use smokeless fuels. They also use pellets to purify our tap water, otherwise it has an adverse effect on the inner tubing of the steam engine. Goodness knows what it's doing to us. But anyway, it didn't used to be like that, but it is now. So what chemicals are they putting in that? And no doubt we'll soon be being asked to stop using coal altogether, even if it's smokeless. One climate official, I was told, stated on the KWVR if they had considered converting steam engines into using batteries, with maybe a realistic steam effect and sounds coming from speakers and things like that, to replicate a proper steam engine and do away with the coal altogether and all that carbon. It feels sometimes that common sense has gone out the window. As the steam engines were ousted for the so-called cleaner diesels, I certainly know which exhaust fumes I prefer and which smell less toxic, and also know the passing Drax wagons that I film smell even more so. Very similar smell to chipboard or MDF dust, and we know that's not good. Not good at all. And these are blowing that stuff into the wind from Ingingham all the way up to Selby. And just like chipboard is crushed together, these pellets are crushed together. Are they being bonded with the same sort of glues that chipboard is, like loftboarding and stuff like that we use and we know is toxic? But not only that, wood-burning pellet stoves are now available. So if we're burning this stuff, we know not to burn chipboard or NBF because it can give off really toxic fumes that are really harmful to human beings. So if they're burning these pellets at Drax, what toxins are being released into the atmosphere apart from what they say is carbon neutral? And on a final point, if CO2 is so bad, and don't forget we breathe in oxygen and breathe out CO2, so we bad as well. But that aside, apart from farting cows, trees breathe in carbon dioxide and release oxygen during photosynthesis. So if we cut down all the trees, what do we breathe? And of course, some time ago, I did a little interview, well, in 2 parts with Simon Kohler, and we talked about the Drax wagons and how they came about, which you might want to know about, and I've put in as a bit of a snippet here if you're interested. Batch of Drax wagons, I think you were involved with those, weren't you?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened there. I'd left Hornby, as I say, for my sabbatical in 2014.
Yeah.
And they got a request, Hornby got this request rather, from Biomass people to produce their wagon. Yeah, their special wagon. So it was produced as a special for them.
Yeah.
And the demand was quite, it was interesting. It wasn't a highly detailed model, no, etc. And in between me leaving and returning, I'd been to Hatton's and they had bought all the residue from the Biomass people.
Right.
And then it was after COVID, there was a demand for those Biomass because they started to put different liveries on them and all the rest of it. So found the tooling and got the liveries on it.
Yeah.
And totally underpriced it.
Yeah, you said.
And I was a bit nervous, so it didn't do a huge number.
Yeah.
And of course, as with all these things, they were snapped up like, no tomorrow. It took a little while for them to come through, but they're on the second batch now, which is probably more of an accurate price. It was originally produced as a promotional wagon for the Biomass people.
And of course, you'd need, if you wanted to run a full train, about 22 of them.
You certainly would. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting meeting Simon. Very interesting indeed. He's a very lovely, honest, genuine guy. And also now you can see what silly money these Drax wagons are selling for, especially those limited edition ones. And of course, the current batch has now sold out again at Hornby. But you can still buy these in and around at your local model shop. Right, let's get on to the weighing scales of these next. And then we can look at running and will they take a magnetic coupling, for instance, from Hornby? Let's find out, eh?
Quick weigh-in of these models. So each pack should weigh the same. 112, 113 grams. I would imagine the other unit in the pack. Slightly less, 111. So it just varies, doesn't it? 113. Oops. No. Just dancing a bit on that. And 111.
I'm just having a look at the underside as well. And the end pockets. Long section here, so we'll see how they perform from the bogie to the hook and link coupling. And as Simon said on my interview, they're not a very detailed wagon, really. They were quite simple and built for promotional purposes, but they took off when Hatton's bought the surplus stock back from Drax. So yes, you might have seen this moving, and yes, I've had my very small plectrums in, and just to have a look inside, because I may at one point want to fit lamps, tail lamps, to these at one end, And who knows? Transfer works lovely, the numbering's lovely, the printing's lovely. Bar in there, and just a clip in, clip out bogie affair. So you could, in effect, I suppose, get a spring feed up in there for a tail lamp. And having looked at these Drax wagons, I bought 2 of these ends, and I did think about taking one of the lamps off and one of the electric units in here and using it in here. And so I thought, well, I'll strip it down and have a look and see if there's room. Well, there is room. There's just 2 tabs on each side, just holding the body shell on. A nice enough model to run alongside these, for instance. So, yeah, when you put them side by side, you can see there is a little bit more reality, I suppose, in here, but you've got this picture transfer work on here, which really lifts these Drax wagon packs. All my trials today and running session is going to be powered by Digitrax and their third-party offering of an app-based control system, which, if you've got all the gubbins to go with it, is about $9.99. And this is the Wii throttle. It works perfectly, and I love it because you can control the functions and the speed. You can see where you're going forward and backwards, and you've got 4 locomotives able to be controlled on one screen at any one time. Now, before we take the full rake of Drax wagons out, I just want to start my Bachmann class 47. We'll get the Wascosa ones running in the opposite direction. Pardon me. Now, this is no loco, but it's still a firm favourite. Got some good weight to it, runs really smoothly. No power bank fitted, anything like that, just runs nicely. There we go, just hitching up. We'll take that one out. Off she goes. I haven't got the tail lamp lit. Had it been a mag light, I could just wandered it like that, but it's alright. You've seen those. And we'll give those a run round with the Bachmann, see how it goes on. Now, we've got to bring the class 66 in to take these Drax wagons out, haven't we? Make sure it's linked up. You probably can still hear the Bachmann going around in the background. There we go. Magnitude of these wagons in full flow. Look at that. Purring along over Lover's Leap. The troublesome curve point as we go into Sod's Castle. And I can hear the 47 approaching at the same time. Again, no issues whatsoever as the two weave their way round. Lofthouse. The Wascosser wagons dwarfing the turrets. What's it like at Lofthouse? It's a Cura scale, isn't it? So. No sense of slipping there. Okay, we're going to do a little points test now. Mid-flow. I didn't really show points test for the Wascosser wagons that you can just see, but they're absolutely fine. But you might expect there'll be some... Hey, don't you start, don't you start. You can just stay there. Taking up the slack, and you might think these been quite light. They have got some weight in there, but they've got a long reach between the bogie and the end of the coupling, and they are very long wagons. As we said, the longest wagons ever to go into production on British Railways. So we're going over a points, 2 points, 2 turnouts, and in reverse to start with, and a full rake. Coming back over silently again. You do get the odd little clunk here and there off these. 100% happy with that. Back to normal. Back on with the running. Okay, so what I'm trying out here are the Drax wagons with the Hornby magnetic 20mm couplings inserted into 4 of the wagons themselves, and I'm going to try it out with the Slim Jim and the Radius 2 up ahead in the distance. That snake bend really sort of cuts the ice when it comes to these couplings if they're not right, as it did with the J&AT Eelnos wagons. Here we go, straight in, nice and easy. These should just all click together. There we go, that's it. Have we linked up? Let's just check. They've just cross-linked, but they have linked up very well. We've just done a scissor link, which we don't want on a first run. We can try that now. And let's see if we get any buffer clashing. I said bush clashing then. This will definitely point out any flaws, if there are any. I'm just taking it nice and steady, and you'll hear them clash if there is going to be any. Let's hope there isn't. It's tight though. Nope. Hornby, they do need to make some 22mm vacuum pipe magnetic couplings, because even their own wagons won't go round. They're even less successful than the Eelnos J&AT wagons. I knew it was tight, but it was worth a try. And one other thing to be said as well, I can have such a long rake of these wagons because they're not going to stop at a station. So you're not going to have to build a platform to accommodate them all. Well, that's just about it for another one, and the eagle-eyed among you may have seen I've got incorporated now and running quite successfully some Hornby magnetic couplings. How did I do that and achieve that when the others didn't seem to work at 20mm, and they're the largest ones that Hornby do? To see my mods and how I did it, look out for the bolt-on video to this one. I had one minor derailment issue today, and that was 3 coaches and the rest kept running when the tangs came out of one of the Hornby couplings. It's easily done, just spread them, open them up. But I'm going mag couplings, and there's no way to quantify how much joy and pleasure just watching these trains go by can bring. Until the next one, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless.
Back on the bike, home for a brew. Let's get this video out to you. I'm a poet and I didn't know it.
In a thrilling adventure that's a lot of fun, when Casey takes the throttle for another run. Casey Jones, steaming and a-rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear a tooting of the whistle, it's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express. Casey Jones, steaming and a-rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear a tooting of the whistle, it's a Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.